Well, I think from the perspective of a two-dimensional life, it would be possible to understand 3 dimensions by breaking it into 2 dimensions. Then it would be first like a dot, and then it would be a triangle, and then it would be a square. And if it would go like this, it would be a square in general, you know? And this is like how you can understand something that is not known to your world, but you can still break it down for yourself. And I think that's what I'm doing in my practice. I try to get to know the shapes by breaking them down and building them up. And this is kind of how I get to know them. Well, I always like to combine different works because there's like no hierarchy between them. So, I mean, I sorted them kind of like this is like the room with the fabric, this is the room with the canvases, and below is the room with the sculpture. But that was probably because when I heard that this is like a 3-story building, an exhibition space, I thought like, oh, well, it's just perfect for like my whole working process. Is like, it always starts with this kind of dense jungle and everything is overlapping and the patterns cross, and then there's some finished work and there's some unfinished work. And then on the top it's just like really light and like a fixed situation. Like each canvas for me is like a fixation of a moment. I mean, it could totally change, and the shape that is kind of the portrait in that specific painting could be totally different in the next one. But for now, it's like a fixation of the shape in that moment. Having those categories, it's like a category. Having like this is a 2-dimensional, is a 3-dimensional. And I think I kind of work without those categories. Like they all kind of, there's no hierarchy, and I really like the in-between, you know, when it's shifting from being an object back going to the tableau. And I always use the reproductions, like the photographs of the 3-dimensional on the plane again, and use it as a knitted work or as a painting. All the shapes and forms and paintings and like that have already been made kind of go through the system as well. And this is how I kind of try to translate everything into my own language. But it really roots in everything I see, so it's not disconnected. It's just taken from its own environment into another one, and that already shapes it differently, I guess. And about the color, I know the work always is really like perceived as really, you know, like multicolor, kind of happy, but color for me is not an emotional thing. Color for me is more like a dimension of order. It helps me figure out what can come together and what can't. It's not that multicolored things are like happy to me. It's just how I try to figure out how they could encounter. I'm just trying to point out that dimension shouldn't be the border. It's just like a way to grasp something.